Hello, welcome to Garden Chronicles. In today's video, I would like to talk about my indoor gardening plants here that is been cultivated in my tight space garden. So, hope you enjoy the collection of the plants that are actually cultivated here in my garden space. This is actually known as Anthurium crystallinum hybrid. It's actually more with the hybrid which is crossbred together with the Anthurium magnificum. You can actually view this in my earlier video which I posted concerning how do I repot them. So in this collection, I will just want to show to you all the types of Anthuriums that I've managed to grow here. Basically more on the detailed list of all the ones that actually is quite successful. Now the reality here is that they are very much tight space garden simply because of lacking space. But however, this is how I like my garden to be, because when I create this kind of ambience, what happens here is that my garden seems to love it because of their high humidity. Do take note that I do not have any artificial humidifier which is being placed here in this garden space, and because of this particular style of gardening, these plants are actually thriving. Now, one of the things that I want to mention here is that a lot of these plants here are basically trial and error, and in that case is that I have actually killed most of my plants because they are not doing so well, even though they are listed as indoor gardening plants. Now, basically what I have actually experienced and I would like to share to you here is that if you were to find that one particular plant that is actually doing so well in your garden, then continue to get that particular plant species or few different types of hybrids in your garden space. In that way, what you will actually find is that you will have variety, colors and contacts in a way that plants are giving you colors, especially this particular one known as Schismatoglottis. Now this particular one is the white chili type, and this is a different one, and followed by few others which I have managed to cultivate and collect. So in a way, some of it may look very much similar, but basically they are different. Now over here you look that this is a overlapping giant type. I have just recently discovered there is another one that is a miniature type which does not have the overlapping effect. Okay, this is overlapping, and this particular one, if you can notice, it's more of the arrowhead type. So, as you can see, the side-by-side view of this particular Schismatoglottis is very much far apart. I think this is what they call sinus, and you can notice that this is a miniature type and it's not so big and it's more on the arrowhead size, whereas this is more on a rounder and it has this unique earlobe kind of thing which is overlapping. Now coming back to my collection, which I was actually speaking about earlier concerning my Anthurium plants, these are a few of the collection that I have managed to collect over the years. Recently, all these leaves have been actually putting out new shoots and leaves simply because I have actually added some compost on the surface, not so much but just lightly, and they seems to spring out some new leaves in that context. So let's see how it goes, but this is something which is new. I'm very cautious when it comes to what they call this fertilizer, simply because I find that they are sensitive plants, and if you overwhelm it, they can have some burns. So I'm just trying it out and see. It's about 1 to 2 tablespoons of compost on each of the spot. I'm just hoping that something happens, something good happens. I hope the plant doesn't die. Now the application here is this. I actually placed it on Saturday. So today is Monday. So in 2-3 days time, I noticed that new leaves were formed, but because of water droplets on them, there's a slight damage here. So do be cautious about water being on their leaves because it can cause damage. But other than that, if you really don't mind, like myself, you look over here, this kind of thing, because the leaves are quite fragile, especially when it comes to Anthurium plants. But eventually, as the new leaves grows bigger and they sprout out with they seems to do so well. This is Anthurium worthy. So in that sense, yeah. So coming back to Schismatoglottis, this is another variety. So as I was actually saying, that you don't have to really collect every single plant that it falls into the indoor type, but basically what you can actually do here is that collect one particular species and you just have 4 or 5 different varieties in it, and they will just do beautifully and colorful. So over here I actually have the Anthurium type. Basically few other types that I actually place. This is the common flowering type. I've not seen this particular one, but this particular one has been flowering quite some time. I mean, and their flowers do last very long. I think this particular one is about, say, 3 to 4 months, and when this flowers fades away, a new flower shows up. So in a way you can actually add colors and flowers inside of this place if you are actually concerned that if you only have all types of just foliage, you can actually have this particular ones. Now coming back to Anthuriums, there are some types that are actually very sensitive. This is a sensitive one. It's known as a dark form. It doesn't really have a specific name for it. It has been actually locally identified among vendors and collectors as crystallinum dark form. You actually see it's a bit shining actually in the lighting here. So the sun is slowly coming up, so I have to be a little bit careful because I don't want to damage any of the leaves. And there's another one. This is a telltale sign that the overlap has taken so close that there is no air movement, and this is what actually happens. But normally I don't trim off this. I just leave it as this because what did you say? How do you mention it? The more you actually disturb, the more damage it causes. Like this is the first new leaf that actually come, and look at that. Damage is extensive. I can choose to cut this particular plant. I'm sorry, this particular leaf, but I just left it because I just like the aesthetic view of it. So in a way, okay, now coming back to the collection that works best here in an indoor setting or bright shaded area, I find like this particular one is this Anthurium claverenarium. There's 2 types. This is the overlapping type, and the other one is not overlapping. Okay, so this is the 2 type that is commonly available, so do watch out for this, the one that doesn't overlap and the one that does overlap. Now you must understand this sinus will come up over there. You see, there's something which actually discovered. This is another type of crystallina. This is known as silver blush. It's a crossbreed with crystallinum and dorayaki, if I'm not wrong. Somehow I find dorayaki is very sensitive here. This one, it was a full-blown plant. It actually died, but it is regenerating back again. So do not throw away your old Anthurium plants. What you can do is put in some coconut chips and compost, and then they regenerate back. But the regeneration does not take immediately. It may take few months, so you really have to be patient. Similarly, like this particular one, it was dying. You can see there's only 2, but a new shoot is arrived after the application of compost. Again, this is a trial and error kind of stuff, so I'm not really sure whether they are really working out. Similarly, this particular one is one singular leaf. Is there any one coming out? Not really. So let's see. Oh yeah, there's 2. Okay, I just put a stick over here for support, because I think not doing that, the whole plant actually flops and drops down. Now other plants that I actually place are this This is a very super sensitive plant for me actually. This is Cattleya species, Dotty if I'm not wrong, and few others that I've managed to collect over time. It's very slow growing, but it adds color to my garden. The only thing here about this particular story that I want to mention to you is that they like to be in tight spot kind of thing, tight neat, nook, crook and corner kind of stuff. They don't like to be in wide, big pot. So normally I plant in a small pot and I place them in a big pot. So sort of giving them some element of tightness, and that gives character to this evergreen tone garden. Some colors actually helps. Okay. Now if you notice that most of the plants here, the colors are actually much more to do with their veins. If you notice, this is the vein. So you can also add on alocasias of that kind. There are ones that are Amazonica, but this particular one is known as Bambino. I also have added Sarian here. I can't really see. Oh, it's falling down. Okay, so here, can you see it? This is Sarian. So you can actually add this kind of types to give the, if you look at it, the colors is the same, but the shape is different. So in a way, it complements the visual effect of it. Let me arrange this carefully before it gets damaged. So this is another thing that you have to look into when it comes to leaves. They are very fragile. And what else? Okay, yes, I must tell you, when it comes to begonias, cane begonia seems to be the hardiest ones. I think slowly are phasing out from Rex begonias because they are super finicky, and if you overwater them in this kind of context, when you have too much humidity, they seem to die in my garden because it gets wet, too wet at sometimes in a year, and when it rains throughout the day, at least can say 3 days in a row, I don't water it, but because the condition of this particular garden is such, they get too wet and they rot away. So these are the collection that I have now decided to place them here because I find that this works best for me. Now again, few other colors that actually works best. This is Syngonium confetti. I just recently got it, not say recent, about 6 months ago, and I find that they're doing fine, and I like these particular blotches. I'll talk more about Syngonium in my videos that I'll be posting. I'll give you an extensive review and plant care about it, but for now I just want to mention to you that they are hardy plants. If you want to have them as indoor plants, this will be one of the best ones. Followed by this philodendron. They have few names. I'm really not sure how are they actually cataloging it, because one says it's Rudolph, the other says it's Florida green. So let's see how it goes. And this is Three Kings. Again, this is a Cattleya, so it does well. And followed by Aglonema. So aglonemas do also give a very nice colors in this pot, but I think I have too many plants here, so I can't overwhelm it. And not something will actually die. So this is my collection here so far for the garden here, for indoor garden, and this is the review that I want to share to you. If you have any queries or questions, do put them comment below. I come back to you as soon as possible. I would really appreciate if you can click like and subscribe my channel, and see you again in the next video. Take care and have a nice day. Okay, the sun is slowly coming out. You can see it, it's about 10 o'clock now. So this is the best bright sun I get, and by 12 and by 3 it's over. So this is how bright it gets in my indoor garden setting. Take care and catch you in my next video. Bye.